This thing is a lot heavier than it looks. Hello, my furniture friends. I just got back from the thrift store with this little chest. It's definitely a contemporary piece. It's not that old, but the finish on it is failing. The top of it is laminate, and the sides and drawer fronts, as far as I can tell at first glance, I think are a thin wood veneer. And I also think that the base is probably solid wood, but I haven't really gotten up close and personal with it yet. As soon as I saw these nice flat drawer fronts, I immediately had a design idea pop into my brain that I saw the incredibly talented Brass Walnut on Instagram do on a couple of her pieces now, I think. A really bold, geometric, that's the word I'm looking for. Graphic geometric design that I've wanted to replicate and haven't had the guts or the right piece to do it on. And I think this is it. Okay, let's take a second to actually tour this thing and see what we're working with. Like I said, it's a newer piece, probably less than 10 years old, but the finish on the wood is so brittle and just flaking right off. It's got some simple brass handles that I think I can just clean up and reuse. All three drawers are working. They open and close nice and smoothly. No dovetails, but they're solid. This Flexsteel brand sticker and the plastic top kind of make me think it was probably a piece of hotel or office furniture. I can see a seam where this more expensive mahogany wood veneer is stuck to the less expensive board or substrate behind it, which just means that I need to be careful if I sand so that I don't sand too much and grind right through it. Looking at the back, I can see the plastic laminate and press board, and I can also see that the side panels are the same veneer as the drawer fronts, but over top of particle board instead. And yeah, the base looks like solid wood. This finish is literally falling off though, so that's gonna need to go. These drawers can come right out, and I'll just check to make sure that everything in here is sound, and then I can remove all of the handles before I give everything a good clean with a heavy duty degreaser to make sure there isn't any wax, oil, or silicone on the surface from furniture polish that I don't want to grind down into the wood with my sander. Furniture is always way dirtier than it looks, so I always like to give my pieces a really thorough wash and rinse inside and out. The finish on these drawer fronts is so thin and so brittle that I'm pretty confident I can knock it off with some 180 grit sandpaper and not risk blowing through the veneer to the substrate underneath. So I'm going to do that. Otherwise, I would probably opt to do a chemical stripper first if the finish was tougher, just so that I didn't need to do so much sanding and there wasn't as much risk of blowing through, or use my carbide scraper to scrape the majority of the finish off before giving it a light sand over. But yeah, I'm gonna pop some 180 on here and give it a whirl. I need my dust mask too. some really pretty mahogany veneer here, but there are still a few deep scars in it that I really can't sand any further. I'm not too worried though. Those marks and the big seams in the veneer pieces are all gonna get camouflaged with the print that I'm putting over top. I popped the rest of the table up onto my workbench to start removing the finish from the base and ended up realizing that I could probably make my life so much easier if I just unscrewed it from the upper cabinet, and then I could actually get into all of the little spots and details that I needed to. I'm also going to sand over the laminate top to create some micro texture on the slick surface for my primer and paint to be able to really grab onto. And then I'll just keep sanding down both sides to get rid of all of this finish that's loose and about to fall off anyway. Okay, realities of furniture flipping. I've changed my mind. Now that I have this base completely stripped back, I can see that the base wood and the drawer wood are two completely different things. This base is a lot more yellow and lighter, and the drawer fronts are more of an orange-red mahogany tone. And to be completely honest, I could use a bunch of stains and try and tone the two to look the same, but I don't really want to do that. So I think I'm just going to reattach the base to the main unit, prime and paint that whole thing together, and then the wood accent will just be on the drawers. Yeah, plan B. Plan B. I just put some paper down on the floor and then propped the cabinet up on some old paint cans. And I'm gonna try priming with this Rust-Oleum spray can primer instead of my usual white bin shellac-based primer, simply because I have a few cans of this that I bought a long time ago that I need to use up. I think it's gonna stick to the laminate well, and it's black. So when I put the black paint that I wanna use over top of it, I don't need to worry about trying to cover up the bright white primer. I'm gonna give the can a really good shake to get things mixed up, and I love these trigger handles that just pop onto the top of pretty much any spray paint can. I like using them when I'm doing bigger surfaces or projects like this because it makes it so much easier on my fingers and my hands and just gives a really nice continuous spray. While the primer's drying, I'm gonna mix up some of this gray brown paint with a bunch of water so that I can brush that over the wood on the drawer fronts to try and tone them a bit, just to lessen the orange that's in there. It should be super subtle, but I think it's gonna look better with the black paint. I'm just brushing this paint wash on and then wiping off all the excess water right away, leaving the slightest bit of pigment right on top of that green. All right, the primer is dry. Do a little scratch test here to make sure that it's adhered well to that laminate. Nothing's coming off. Those marks are just because it's a matte finish that I'm compressing with my nail, but yeah, that's stuck on there. The paint wash on the drawers is dry, and I think I have some black paint already. Oh yeah, definitely enough in there. This is just left over from a nightstand project that I did a couple of months ago, but there's enough in there to get that cabinet painted. I quickly smoothed out the primer with a superfine sanding sponge and wiped off all the dust with a microfiber rag. And now I'm gonna load up my pneumatic spray gun with the paint. This is Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane Enamel in a satin sheen. It's a really durable paint that doesn't need any additional top coating to go over it for protection, which will make this job a bit faster and save on the overall cost. I put an old towel down over these drawer fronts so that the overspray or paint dust that dries in the air and then settles on everything after you spray doesn't get all over the bare wood. And then tested out all of my flow and fan settings on some cardboard. And once I was happy with the spray, I moved over to the cabinet and sprayed on the first coat. This paint is dry to the touch in about 2 hours and then can be recoated after 4 hours. So when I came back to it, I gave it one more smooth out, one more dedustifying wipe down, sprayed on the final layer, and quit for the day. Day 2, this is where the magic happens. I'm gonna pop all of the drawers back inside the cabinet and make myself some little pull tabs out of painter's tape so I can get them back out if I need to, because they don't have handles on them right now. And then I can start figuring out how I wanna go about making this design. Okay, I think the first thing I want to do is find the center point of the drawers, and I'll start my design there and then just work out towards the sides. I think that's going to be the best way to have it looking centered and not end up with like a full design on one side and then a partial design on the other side, like will probably happen if I start on one side and try and work my way across. Okay, so we are 30¼ inches across. So that is 15 1/8 at the center. 15 1/8. This delicate grip frog tape is, well, frog tape in general is the only masking tape that I trust for really crisp, clean lines. But this delicate grip should be good to not pull the paint off of the frame around it or really pull up any of the wood grain or paint wash off of the wood. So that's why I'm using this. It's a little more expensive than other painter's tapes and masking tapes, but I think it is so worth it. Right on that corner. One and a half inches. I should write that down. 1.5 inches. And then from that point, we'll do 2.5 inches or 2 inches. I feel like 2 inches is too short. So let's do 2.5 inches. Well, that's not right. That point to that point. Is that the same angle as that? I don't think it is. There we go. Right? Right. Okay, this is what we're going with. So my first point here is 1.5 inches from the top. This is 2.5 inches. And on this side, we're at 5 inches because it's double this side. So this is going to get painted. And then I'm going to repeat it, flip flop, kind of like a checkerboard, but with a trapezoid. Math was not my strong suit, in case you couldn't tell. Next one here is going to be blank. And then the third one down will be painted blank. Got a smaller ruler, but I'm also feeling like I should flip this on its back because it's going to be easier to work on a flat surface. Or I should say a horizontal surface than a vertical one. I'm going to use this little stenciling brush to kind of stipple on some paint. I don't want it to be fully perfect and solid. I want it to be a little bit textured, maybe with some of the wood grain showing through. So this is what I'm going to use to apply the same black paint that I used on the rest of the dresser. Just dab some off on this paper towel. Okay, here goes nothing. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to peel off all this tape, wait for the paint to dry enough to be able to retape around it on the next section. This is going to be a slow and steady process. And I'm going to pop my brush into a plastic bag so it doesn't dry out and I don't have to wash it out every time. All right, here goes nothing. Doesn't look like much yet, but it will. Is this one the same? No, that side's okay. Damn it. So my immediate response to this major mess up was just to put another piece of tape down to protect the last strip of paint that was right, and then use some acetone on a paper towel to try and get the wrong paint off. Please don't mess this up. I didn't know if it was gonna work. I didn't know if it was going to take off or mess up the paint wash that was underneath there too, but luckily it cleaned up pretty nicely, and I thought any residue that was left behind there would just all kind of blend in with the busy overall pattern. Okay, I think that's gonna be okay. Ooh, I hope it's gonna be okay. Yo, when I say this took me all day, I mean this took me all day. I am 1000% sure that there is a better way to do this, but this is just what made sense for my brain. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing a design like this again anytime soon, but I do love the effect. In between all of the measuring and taping and remeasuring and retaping, I did get a chance to soak the handles in some vinegar and boiling water to loosen up the gunk that was on them. And I tried to polish them a bit with some 4/0 steel wool, but quickly realized they were not the solid brass I had originally thought. They just had like a brassy lacquered coating on them. So once that was gone and they dried back out, they started to oxidize and looked pretty terrible. So a new lacquered finish with some gold metallic spray paint was definitely in order. I need to give this bare veneer some protection, and I have a tiny bit of this water-based matte polyurethane that I've been trying to get used up. So I'm gonna brush 2 coats of this over the drawer fronts, since there's already so much going on here visually with the wood grain, the textured paint, and the all over pattern. And this top coat doesn't really have much of a sheen to it that's gonna reflect the light and highlight boo-boos. I don't need to be too precious about it. I'm just gonna get it on with my zebra top coating brush, and then I'll quickly smooth it out with long sweeping strokes from end to end, and I'll leave it alone to dry. This did have some nylon feet on it when I got it, but 2 of them were missing. So I'm gonna nail in some fresh ones to the bottom of each leg. These really do a lot to protect the edges of wood from chipping and splintering when furniture gets dragged around on the floor. And they can help protect your floors from getting scratched up too. The last thing I wanna do is tidy up or pretty up the bottoms of these drawers. This white melamine board isn't in terrible shape. It's just not particularly pretty. So I ordered some inexpensive black peel and stick paper to cover it and just make these interiors more cohesive with the new design. Okay, you know what time it is. Let's take a quick look back at exactly what I picked up from the thrift store for a second. A decent piece of furniture with a great modern shape, but nothing really special with its laminate top and the completely crumbling finish falling off the body. And this is what it looks like now. I am honestly amazed that I pulled off this design. Thank you so much again to Sherry at Brass Walnut for the inspiration for this. You have got the patience of a saint. I'm sure it was painful or maybe just entertaining for some of you to watch me struggle with something that probably could have been so much simpler, but I did it, and it's awesome. What do you think about this bold geometric combination of wood grain and paint? I would love to know. Ta-ta for now, my friends. I'll catch you all next time.